Bears trade talks escalating. New trade targets revealed in report today on ESPN by Jeremy Fowler. We are going to discuss everything along this list here today. Welcome to Bears Digest, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Dylan Guinzy. Thank you for joining once again. If you have not subscribed already, please do so. We just ran the new report yesterday. The last 28 days, 91.3% of watchers are not subscribed. So be sure to hit that bell for updates, news, rumors, everything that comes to us, including information coming up to the trade deadline. Just like today, we're going to be here with all of it. So, guys, trade deadline is coming up in 2.5 weeks or so. November 4th is the trade deadline. Every single year, we get a flurry of moves. I expect the Bears to be interested. There are some new targets that were released today by Jeremy Fowler's article, which we're going to get into. We're going to talk about how realistic some of these are, what are the chances that this happens, what it looks like for both sides, and everything like that. Now, we said it last week that the Bears winning against the Commanders to get to 3-2 and above 500 could then catapult them into a different sort of category in terms of the trade deadline, right? Not necessarily offloading players. We're looking at maybe what can get us into making a playoff run for this year now, right? We're above that 500 mark. There are some favorable games on the schedule upcoming. So what does this mean going forward? I think Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson are definitely pushing towards that. They are making calls. We have had other reports from other outlets here this morning that have said the Bears are making calls among other NFC teams as well, specifically along the D-line and edge market and everything like that. So we're going to discuss the report. Then we're going to get into the target specifically and kind of dial into what we think is going to happen here. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think should happen in the trade market for the Bears. Who should they acquire? What makes sense in terms of the future of the Bears? And who are you kind of rooting for to be a part of this team? So without further ado, guys, we're going to get into it. Jeremy Fowler released this buzz file this morning. When he does these, that usually means there is some really good smoke around what he is reporting because he is obviously an ESPN insider. He works, with Adam Schefter and all of those guys, everything of that sort. So he knows what's going on. What he hears is concrete. Obviously, for trades to happen and things, there's a lot more that goes into it. But what he says goes and usually means things are happening. So this morning, he was talking about the Titans. Obviously, we know from last week's report and more reports this week that the Bears have contacted the Titans and have been calling them multiple times regarding defensive players. Now, last week we went over Jeffrey Simmons and the possibility of that happening, and I said that it's probably not logical for the Bears to do that at this point in time. But we also mentioned that if you're calling the Titans on a defensive player, it's got to be Jeffrey Simmons, right? Well, Fowler released this morning that the Titans were already poised to be active at the trade deadline, and the Callahan firing only expedites that process. They know they need draft capital to rebuild the roster. Edge rusher Arden Key, cornerback Roger McCreary, and tight end Chig Okonkwo are among players on my radar. There could be more. But those three are 2026 free agents and do not appear in the long-term vision of the franchise. And the plan right now is to keep defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons. He's unquestionably the Titans' best player and turns 28 in July. So this is what I said last week. I said, I don't know if it makes sense for the Titans to do this, but who else would the Bears be calling for? Well, the first guy mentioned right there, Arden Key, would make complete sense for this Bears team. We need help along the edge rush position on the defensive line. We need to get to the quarterback more. Arden Key is a good, just pure edge rusher that can come in on third downs. He is not going to cost a lot of money either. And he is a pretty serviceable player, and he's not going to cost a high draft pick or anything like that. You'd be looking at a late round pick swap or a 5th round, 6th round pick, something like that. So if you guys are in the boat of not giving up future picks and high picks and stuff for players this year, this is the one right here. And I absolutely know that they have talked to the Titans about Jeffrey Simmons. Don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it makes sense on both sides. Arden Key is the guy that I think they could end up landing on there. So just a little bit about Arden Key. He's got 1.5 sacks this year in 5 games, a couple combined tackles, QB hits. His pressure rate is really good. He is 6'5", 29 years old, and he does fit Dennis Allen's scheme in terms of what he likes. He likes the guys that are 240 to 260, plus on that edge rush position, and that makes a lot of sense for Dennis Allen and his scheme. And again, he's not going to cost a lot. He is a 2026 free agent. If you were going to extend him, he's not going to cost a lot at all. And right now, his cap hit is just under $9 million. So right now, as it looks, we wouldn't have to move anybody or really restructure or give them a player, anything like that for a guy like Arden Key. And I think it would make complete sense to bring him in to bolster this pass rush and give more help on the side opposite of Montez Sweat just to unlock some more things. So Arden Key is the guy that we should pay attention to there, and I think he will get moved. We're going to discuss some more edge guys that are on the market as well later in the video here. Next, what I want to discuss is somebody that we also talked about before, and that is Breece Hall. So we did talk about his trade value earlier on, and it's very low. Running backs do not cost a lot. These, non-premier positions do not cost a lot. I know DeAndre Swift had a phenomenal game on Monday night against the Commanders, but if they're still looking at bolstering this run game and getting more guys in the fold here, Breece Hall would be an obvious and great fit. So Breece Hall's low trade value is perfect for the Bears. Talked to a half a dozen front office sources late last week, pregame. Their consensus on his value, 5th-round pick potential, or 4th if 2 teams compete for him. Hall's not-so-cryptic post on social media shows that he's finally changed his stance about potentially being traded, and he now welcomes being saved and driven away from Gotham. However, as talented as he is, his contract situation and history of injuries may scare some teams away, per the report. So, in my opinion, I think Breece Hall is getting moved no matter what. That's just kind of proof in the pudding of what we've seen in the past and kind of how the Jets are progressing into this season. This is the time of the year where a lot of teams sort of just kind of give up on what their season looks like. And the Jets are one of those teams. And I think Breece Hall being a free agent after this year, he is going to walk and go to a different team. So if you're the Jets, might as well offload him for some sort of draft capital and value so you get something out of him. I think if the Bears are interested, that is easy to be had. They can go throw a 4th rounder, not even question it, and get him on this team. Bulls can't hit those late round picks most often anyways. And this just, kind of gets you help now rather than later in that case. And I think Breece Hall would be a great fit, as we've discussed many, many times before. So Breece Hall, keep an eye on that one on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, this run game was looking a lot better. DeAndre Swift did well on Monday night as well. But again, if you want to really push this over the edge and make it a strong suit of your team, I think this would really help in kind of adding in a committee and fresh legs at the running back position there. So Breece, obviously this year is having a great year at the Jets. He's their lone bright spot. He had more yards than Justin Fields did in the game against the Broncos. He had -10 net passing yards, and Breece Hall had like 60 rushing yards or something, and the Broncos knew they were going to run every single time. So obviously he's a good player, would be a great fit for the Bears, and I think it is a target still, no matter what happened on Monday night. I think he would be a great fit on this squad. So to wrap this thing up, guys, we're going to go through the other edge guys on the market from Fowler directly. Other potential options, I suspect the 49ers, he was discussing them at this time, will check on include edge rushers Rashawn Gary, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, and Arden Key again, right? That's the second time Arden Key was mentioned. If the Packers won't part with Gary, and I don't think they would, they have a pass rusher, Kingsley Enagbare, a former starter who's relegated to a reserve role in a contract year. That could elicit the most movement on the trade market overall, and the 49ers will be interested. So that's an NFC team that is calling a lot as well. They called on Trey Hendrickson among some other guys, and again, Arden Key is mentioned in here. I think Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb are also options for the Bears on a putrid Dolphins team that is going to be offloading guys as well. So as Adam Schefter said last week, there is going to be moves that are made here, expected 10 to 12 moves over the next couple of weeks leading up to the deadline and on deadline day. I expect just where the Bears are at right now, if they take care of business this week and get to 4-2, I think they pull the trigger and bring somebody in here. I think they'd be stupid not to. Whether that's a high-profile trade or a lower-profile trade like the Arden Key move, I think they're going to do it, right? Why not help out this team now to further this, push or, playoff run, if you call it, if they get to that, sort of position. I think all of this makes sense, and I think the Bears will try to do that. So a lot of stuff coming out this morning, a lot of tweets coming out as well. Just overall, the trade market is really heating up. I think the Bears do make a move. Couple of targets, specifically Arden and Breece Hall, I think are great options and serviceable options that are not going to cost a lot for the future or draft picks or anything like that. So if you're in that boat, I think that makes total sense for the Chicago Bears. So, of course, guys, we're going to be here with all the updates. First injury report is coming out today, Wednesday afternoon. Then we got more stuff, injury reports and everything. Thursday, we're going to discuss DJ Moore injury updates and everything like that as we head into the game against the Saints on Sunday in a must-win. But, of course, thank you guys for joining once again, Bears Digest. If you have not subscribed already, please do so. We're coming at you every single day. So, of course, thank you for joining, and bear down.